There are a lot of ways we could begin the show tonight. There are flashier headlines. But this evening, we are starting with the war in Ukraine because it matters to a whole lot of people whose lives are in danger and whose freedom is at stake. Today, the presidents of the United States and Russia faced off on the world stage. Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin gave dueling speeches about the war in Ukraine just ahead of the one-year mark of Russia's invasion. President Biden gave a defiant speech before a crowd in Warsaw, Poland. His message, the war in Ukraine is also a battle for freedom and democracy.
Our support for Ukraine will not waver. NATO will not be divided, and we will not tire. President Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never. Freedom. There is no sweeter word than freedom. Stand with us. We will stand with you. Let us move forward with faith and conviction and with an abiding commitment to be allies.
Vladimir Putin gave his State of the Nation address just hours before Biden spoke. Putin made it clear Russia had no intention of changing course and falsely blamed the West for the war.
They started the war, and we used the force in order to stop it. We understood this, and they are again in Kiev talking directly about their plans, and we knew that already. We protect people and protect their homes, and the objectives of the West is infinite power.
Again, the West started no war. Vladimir Putin is lying. He also announced Moscow was suspending the one remaining nuclear arms treaty with the United States. This all comes just one day after Joe Biden's historic trip to Kyiv. The risk to President Biden became abundantly clear as he walked through the city alongside President Zelensky. That air raid siren, a stark reminder that the President of the United States was in an active war zone. Today, several House Republicans visited Kyiv and met with President Zelensky as well to show their support for Ukraine, just as a few far-right Republicans are publicly opposing more military aid. So let's get right to it with MSNBC chief correspondent Ali Velshi. He is live in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. And I want our audience to understand my dear partner, Ali Velshi, standing there in the snow at 6 a.m. Ali, you have been working around the clock. Our audience, I am so grateful that you're there. What was the reaction in Kyiv today to Biden and Putin?
Well, look, it was a big deal. When Joe Biden got here on Monday morning, he was right here. You could see that scene where you show him walking out from the church is right there. That's St. Michael's Cathedral and Monastery. And the air raid sirens hit right at that moment. Now, keep this in mind, Stephanie. That air raid siren, the reports are, was triggered by a MiG jet that was launched from a Russian base in Belarus. That MiG jet, had it fired a missile, that missile could have hit Kyiv in 20 minutes. This is advanced technology. The Ukrainians do not control their skies. That's the bottom line. These air raid sirens go off all the time. So for the president of the United States to have crossed the Polish border, been on a train for 10 hours, to come into Kyiv, to do this, walk in the streets with an air raid siren, to see the security around them, that's a really big deal. Now, the U.S. had informed Russia that this was going to happen, so they had so-called deconflicted, because I don't think Russia was looking for an incident with the president of the United States. But what a sharp poke in the eye to Vladimir Putin that Joe Biden is in Kyiv 1 year after the anniversary of this war, almost 1 year. Vladimir Putin is not. And then the speech today that we heard in Poland was a speech we expected to hear, but it seemed like a pep rally, Stephanie. I mean, he walks out to this crowd that estimated to be as big as 30,000 people with music playing, and a forceful speech about the strength of the West's commitment and NATO's commitment. Remember, Stephanie, you and I were anchoring a show together when the world looked like NATO was going to collapse. That, Donald Trump wanted to pull the U.S. out of it. What a different world we're in now in 2023. You can thank either Joe Biden for bringing NATO together or Vladimir Putin for bringing NATO together and expanding it. But the bottom line is that was a pep rally for NATO, a reminder about why NATO is strong and why Ukraine probably will prevail in this war.
You were in Ukraine as well just about a year ago. When you talk to people on the street, has their resolve changed at all? How determined are they to defeat Russia?
It's greater. The resolve is greater. I would have thought after a winter where there are power cuts, heating cuts, we've had power outages a couple of times here, not organized cuts, but they've been doing that for a while. In a cold country, there might be people who'd say, let's end this. Let's figure out a negotiated settlement. Let's get Russia out of Donbass, but maybe they stay in Crimea. No, the commitment to winning this war is absolute. Literally every last Ukrainian I speak to tells me that they will win. And I thought of you, Stephanie, the other day because you remember last year in Poland, I had met that 16-year-old, 15-year-old refugee at the time, and she's gone back to her town in eastern Ukraine. And when we said goodbye to her the other day, Sue Kroll, our producer, said, God bless you. And she said, may you have peaceful skies, which is a sort of thing you hear from Ukrainians. What a wish. May you have peaceful skies. That's what they wish for. And they are going to keep fighting until they get peaceful skies.
Ali, I got about 38 more questions. But what I really want to know is, what do you want to tell us? What are you experiencing there? You know this region. You have been covering this inside and out for a year.
Yeah, look, I think ultimately what Volodymyr Zelensky said a year ago and what we have thought about for the last year is that you can't talk about liking democracy if you're not willing to stand up for democracy. And standing up and fighting for democracy comes with a price. To the rest of us in the world, that price has been increased fuel prices sometimes. It's been our tax dollars that go toward providing Ukraine with missiles and other things that they want. But we've got our own fights with democracy in the United States, and we've got these fights around the world, but democracy isn't free. You heard Joe Biden saying today, freedom, it's a beautiful word, but it's just not free. And this is an example of a people who remind me of what America was once when it was fighting for its freedom from a ruler. They are prepared to take up arms and say, we're not stopping until this gets done.
Partner, as always, I'm lying to you. I said, Ali, you can tell us whatever you want to talk about, but I'm changing my mind. I have one more question. What should we make of House Republicans who are there today meeting with Zelensky? Because it keeps bubbling up over here that there are some Republicans that want to pull back on military aid, but it's a big statement to see Republican leaders in Kyiv today.
Yeah, Darrell Issa there. You can see on the left, Representative McCall, who's the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, right here, by the way, right exactly where Joe Biden was. I think they're trying to achieve a couple of things. One is the stagecraft of Joe Biden. He's really still in the stage, not just from Vladimir Putin, but from Republicans in the United States. And then the other messaging is that there are these sort of MAGA Republicans who are saying this is the wrong thing and they want to cut aid to Ukraine. These Republicans are here to say, no, that's not true. And not only did they talk about not cutting aid and how the support for Ukraine is bipartisan, they went out farther than Joe Biden has and said that we should give Ukraine these F-16s, these fighter jets that they want. In fact, Darrell Issa spoke to us and said that we're training 2 Ukrainian pilots on, he didn't say F-16s. The implication was F-16s. He didn't say where it was happening, but we can't confirm that. We've not been able to get that confirmed from the Pentagon. But these Republicans were saying, yeah, we're staying in this fight. We want to lead this fight, and we'd like them to get more than they've already got from us.